As a professional athlete, now, let me say this real quick. Never sign a financial power of attorney. That's the end of my TED Talk. I will never recommend signing a financial power of attorney over to anybody. Never. The reason why I don't like this, because a lot of times this is where a lot of advisors may take advantage of you guys. Next thing you know, you got a mortgage in your name you didn't even know about. What's going on, everybody? My name is Q, aka the People's Planner, and welcome to the first episode of the People's Planner podcast, brought to you by the Clever Group. I'm going to give you guys an idea of how this podcast goes. It's pretty much as a certified financial planner and the founder of the Clever Group financial planning firm, giving some educational insight and some advice on the markets and the clientele that I enjoy working with the most, right? Which are athletes, whether professional or college, entrepreneurs, whether you are fundraising or you just had a big exit, and attorneys, right? All three of those markets are the areas that I'm passionate about working with and I relate to the most. So the purpose of this podcast and putting this thing together is to be able to really share my insight and kind of look at different struggles and challenges that you guys might have, but at the same time, give my opinion on how I would help as a financial planner to you. So if all that sounds good, man, we're about to dive right into it. The way we're going to do it is I'll randomize. I have a bunch of different topics. So I'll be able to randomize a bunch of topics using a spin wheel to kind of get the ball rolling to see what we're going to talk about for this episode. So nothing is pre-planned going into it. So like they say, let the games begin. Let's see if I spin. Ooh, this is a good one. So the topic for today is money management for NFL rookies. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. So when it comes down to being a professional athlete in general, there are a lot of different things to be prepared for from a financial standpoint, but I'm going to go through a good bit of stuff to really kind of iron out. So there's a lot of common mistakes, you have to be aware of, as well as being able to understand budgeting, of course. And there's some different investment opportunities and being aware of what's right, what fits you, what doesn't. But at the same time, you want to make sure you have a solid team around you and people to hold you accountable for things, right? Because when you are becoming a professional athlete, you in a certain sense become a CEO, and being able to understand different departments in your business, technically, like you are a business, that's going to be critical when it comes down to team. So it's just a lot of different things. And then as a financial planner, my biggest focus and biggest job is to be able to take one less hat off of your head, to be able to allow you to enjoy doing the shit you enjoy doing, which is playing the game, right? So to get into the idea of money management for rookies, really starting off with the common mistakes a lot of rookies, and whether you're a rookie or a prospect, like you're getting ready for the draft, or you may have less than 5 years of experience. So this all applies to the same concept. So there's some common mistakes and just to be aware of and to avoid if possible. And the big one, of course, you think about your contract as a rookie. Depending on how high you were drafted, big portion of that comes out first is your signing bonus, right? So being able to sign for a good bit of money is huge, but that comes with a lot of drawbacks in the sense of whether you are 21, 22, 23. Typically, we all come from pretty much nothing in certain sense. So having a lot of money, having sudden wealth becomes like a big deal, right? So one of the biggest things to just be aware of and wary of is, overspending on flashy items. But here's my take. So as a financial planner, so if I was working with you, something I never tell anybody to do is not spend your money, right? You work for this. You deserve everything. The way I approach it, different than most advisors, is more of the lines like, hey, look, man, might not be the best time to buy this now. You can buy it, but today might not be the best time to buy it. And I think that makes it a little bit more easier to digest, because in a certain sense, you can still, it's not like, you're taking away from your dream or halting your lifestyle or anything like that. It's really just pushing it aside so that way we can make sure the things that are priority gets taken care of. So lots of times you get a signing bonus, the first thing you want to do, either buy a new car, some jewelry, buy mom's a house, something like that. But all of that's great and you deserve it. But before you just impulsively think about, purchasing all of this, being able to be weary on how much you're spending, because sometimes all that can come bite you in the butt, right? The second thing is the biggest part of overspending comes with taxes. So ignoring taxes and not being aware that you have to pay taxes is big. And there are 3 different types of taxes that really athletes fall victim of, right? The ones that are common, of course, are your federal taxes. So you have your federal taxes and you have your state taxes, of course. So as an athlete, let's start with those 2. The federal tax bracket, the highest percentage right now is 37%. So as a professional athlete, as soon as you get your signing bonus, as soon as you start getting your paychecks, you automatically are going to fall in that 37% category. So once you touch that, like, you automatically becoming that. So 37% of your money is automatically getting taxed federally. And then depending on what state you live in, you can have between 0, if you stay in Texas or Florida, to up to 13.3% state tax if you stay in the state of California, right? So those 2 things from a tax standpoint is huge. But then there's a thing that really gets a lot of athletes they don't know about, is the jock tax. So the jock tax is when you, as a professional athlete, you play in different states, you then get jock tax, right? So different states got different percentages, but these are extra, maybe 3, 4, 5%, right? Could be less, could be more. But the idea is that you get taxed on the areas in the states that you play in. You might not live in them, but you just play in them. And to kind of give you an idea of some strategies to think about in this sense is domiciling yourself. If I was your financial planner, what would I do? I'll tell you to domicile yourself in a state that has little to no taxes, right? So like a Florida, right? Make Florida your residence. Buy a house in Florida, live in Florida. That is your home in Florida. You just play football in other states, whether you play for a team in New York or California, right? Even though you play out there, that is not your actual residence. So you're paying state taxes to the state of Florida, which don't have state taxes, right? So that's a good strategy. Texas is the same thing to do to mitigate a lot of that. But outside of taxes, also agent fees. Typically, most agents, if you're NFLPA certified, which you really don't need to be, but hey, I'm not here to just say anything like that. But most agents charge between 1% and 3%. I think 3% is the maximum that they can charge you per contract. So on your contract, based off your contract. So in essence, if you get $1 million deal, like if you got $1 million contract, well, 30,000 automatically goes to your agent, right? So being able to be mindful of that percentage, because in a certain sense, as an advisor, what I would say is that not all agents need the percentage. You can actually pay them an hourly fee, or you can pay a fixed fee, a one-time fee, because really depends on the relationship. So as an advisor, I would tell you, like, really the idea is, outside of negotiating your contract, what is your agent doing? Because at some point there's going to be a time where there's going to be a dead period between you and your agent where you might not even hear from them. You might not, you might not hear from them for a while, right? After everything's negotiated, you got your deal, you got your training, all of that's done, then your agent's job is pretty much finished. So offering a percentage, you can, but in some sense, it might make sense to put them either on an hourly retainer or more along the lines of a fixed fee to help negotiate contracts as needed. Because I think that takes out a big cut of your check outside of paying your taxes, right? Y'all follow me so far, man? Let me know what y'all think. So the last thing when it comes down to common pitfalls and mistakes to avoid really is also neglecting emergency funds. So whenever it comes down to overspending and then forgetting you got to pay taxes and got to pay your agent, a lot of times the neglecting of emergency funds come into play. What this is basically you want to always have a nest egg, especially in y'all situation as a professional athlete where like there's an off season for you. You want to make sure you got enough money saved up to where you can survive the off season just in case a lockout might happen, just in case you might get hurt, you might not even get picked up, you might not even get signed, things like that happen. You want to make sure you got that emergency fund set up, right? Something happens with the kids, something happens with the house, anything can possibly happen. You want to make sure you got a nest egg built up, put aside in the bank that you can access quickly whenever it's time to really get into those emergency situations. Ideally, as a CFP, as a financial planner, the idea is you want to have between 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses set aside. So whatever your expenses are, multiply that times 3 and 6, and you should have that set aside. Having that as a cushion is great because it gives you some time to figure out what you're going to do next and gives you some leeway and some cushion to be able to figure, put things in motion so that way you can get yourself back to the income that you were making. Because most of the times I think the biggest challenge is without an emergency fund, things happen and then now you have to start like you're scrambling, right? You're stressful. And that's the biggest thing. Anybody that's working with you, whether it's a financial advisor, whether it's a business coach, whatever you want to call them, anybody that's working with you should have their relationship around is relieving a lot of that stress. You know what I mean? But from that standpoint, the idea of budgeting comes into play, right? So diving a little bit into the budget, more along the lines of you're looking at, as a rookie, your income is different, right? So you've never seen this part as a professional athlete. Like, this is a lot of money you start making. The biggest things is being able to, one, track your money. Where does it go? There are lots of times when, especially if you're a high up athlete, that there's an entourage that starts to come, right? You need to know what's coming in and then what's going out. And understanding, like, once again, you are a business now. So being able to be understanding that, hey, like, as a professional athlete now, you are the business. So everything around you that you start spending things on, like, you have to understand, like, that's money from the business. But tracking your money, like, where does it all go? What are you doing with it? So that way, things are not going crazy. Now, you can track this or you can have somebody else track it. But at the end of the day, like I said, you're a CEO. So being able to monitor your different departments, I think, is critical. Because when you don't do that, then I think that's when, you got somebody managing your money and you sign a goddamn fucking power of attorney, financial power of attorney over to somebody. And now they have all access. I think that's a terrible idea, right? I will never, let me say this real quick. There was a guy who I was speaking with that had that situation. Like, I will never even agree with, even recommend signing a financial power of attorney over to anybody. Never. There are going to be a lot of financial advisors that's going to try to get you to do that. I will never get you to do that myself. What that means is basically you can sign your rights over to somebody else to make financial decisions on your behalf, whether it's open up a bank account, whether it's taking money out of a bank account, putting it in there, whether it's adjusting your deposits, doing withdrawals. They have access to your money at any point in time. The reason why I don't like this, because a lot of times this is where the end gets in, where a lot of advisors may take advantage of you guys from a financial standpoint, where next thing you know, you got a mortgage in your name you didn't even know about. Oh, you got this in your name you didn't even know about. So never sign a financial power of attorney. That's the end of my TED Talk. But so understanding where your money is going, I think, is important and critical. Being able to monitor and look at, understand what's going on like it's a business. Understanding your playbook, right? In a sense, no pun intended, understanding your playbook as far as like fixed versus variable expenses. Fixed expenses are things that are fixed. This is stuff that the exact amount that's coming out every month, right? Whether it's a car note, car insurance, mortgage, whatever the case is, this is coming out every month. So understanding what that is. And then the opposite is the variable expenses. So these are the things that it's, up and down, discretionary. Right? You might go out a lot one month. You might have a birthday. You might, Christmas time is different. So these are the things, understand, that you have to just kind of almost educated guess and budget around in that aspect. So that's the variable expenses. So you want to make sure you understand the difference between the two whenever you kind of mapping out that budget. A rule I would recommend anybody following. For you guys, it might be, might have to go a little bit more intense, but we'll see. But the 50-30-20 rule. And the way I break down the 50-30-20 rule, so the 50-30-20 rule is 50% of your paycheck goes to your needs. 30% goes towards your wants. And the last 20% you save. Is basically you paying yourself. So if you look at it, so all the things that you need, think about it. If you got $100, let's say you got $10,000, right? So of that $10,000, you get paid. $5 automatically goes towards all of the necessities you need. So these are your house bills, food, all things necessary for you to live, right? Your needs. After that, 5 is going, well, 3 is going towards your wants. So this is your money that you can take and spend on whatever the hell you want to spend on. So $3,000 going towards whatever. You work for this, go spend however you please, man. No guilt needed. Like, go ahead and do it. And the last 20 you putting aside, and either you saving it in an emergency fund to build up that, or you investing it in some aspect of just letting that money grow over time. You're using this saving bucket as an idea for the future, right? You don't really need the money. It's you basically paying yourself in the future. So ideally adopting that 50-30-20 rule is kind of crucial because it allows you to kind of get into that habit of, disciplining yourself when it comes down to managing your money. And the way I would put it though is I don't want it to seem like you're a drill sergeant, right? Like you 50-30-20 you're taking away from your lifestyle. It's really not, because the idea is that you're doing the exact same things, but now it's more organized. You're still paying your bills anyway, and you're still paying your money towards, you're still going to do your wants and, go and do the things you want to do, travel, whatever, and then you're still saving. So nothing really changes your lifestyle. So the way you was already living is the same thing, but now it's just more organized, more clear cut. It's less impulsive and chaotic, because you don't want to be chaotic coming through this. But so that kind of leads into the next kind of idea is really the investment opportunity, right? So this is where everything get crazy. So the word investment. So when you think of financial advisor, everybody quickly grab their pockets. Most financial advisors, the barrier to entry to being a financial advisor is very low. So I can be somebody that repairs credit and call myself a financial advisor. So be wary of that. First of all, I'm very adamant about the word financial advisor. Everybody knows that. First, full disclosure, before you work with anybody from a financial advising standpoint, make sure they have a CFP. I really don't care what else they have background-wise. A CFP, a certified financial planner like myself, this is the highest standard of financial advice, right? So we basically have an ethical code to live by, fiduciary standard to act in your best interest at all times, not sometimes, all times. Meaning, we don't follow the suitability rules. I'm gonna give you kind of an idea what that is versus the fiduciary rules that we do follow. So suitability is basically you can afford it, but you don't really need it. But I'm gonna still recommend it to you. That's what most financial advisors do, right? You got the money to pay for it, but you don't really need it, but I'm gonna still recommend you do it. As a CFP, you can afford it, but this has shit to do with none of the goals that we discussed here. And because of that, I'm not recommending nothing. Yes, you can afford it. You can literally pay for that, but this had nothing to do with what you were talking about. So understanding like the dynamics between all that is important. But when it comes down to investing, I know the first thing people think about is the stock market. So we'll talk about that. It's a whole world, and like I said, once again, it's an area where taking one less head off your head, right? But when it comes down to the stock market, there's so many different elements of it. But as a financial planner, as somebody that would work with you, if I was to kind of be your planner, it would look like basically everything depends on your risk tolerance and your risk capacity. So risk tolerance is what you can literally tolerate. Capacity is what you literally have, right? So you might can tolerate a lot, but you don't really have a lot to tolerate. So everything really depends on how much risk you're willing to take. Some people are going to be more aggressive. Some people are going to be more conservative, right? So some people might be in the middle. Everything from a strategy standpoint, from an investment in the stock market, is going to be revolving around that. Like everything revolves around that, plus whatever goals you have set out. Because in some sense, it might not make no sense to invest if I'm trying to do something in the next 6 months. It might not make no sense to invest if, something is more immediate, right? But for more longer term plays, more longer term wealth building, then yes, investing in the stock market is a great way to do it, right? The market has historically always done well. There are a lot of downtimes, so nothing is guaranteed, but being able to really, work within it, it's huge. What I could say is really ask questions. My biggest focus is on education. So ask questions whenever it comes down to that investment world. When you don't understand something, stop and ask. You want to make sure you can iron that out, because it does get really tricky, especially depending on who you work with. The next one is real estate, which is often the one that a lot of folks outside of the stock market. It's crazy because I've read a lot of stuff on athletes going broke and watching the documentaries and all of that other stuff, which propelled me to even get into this world. Whenever somebody comes to you with a deal as their advisor, what I would say to you is, tell me what the deal is, and I'm coming with you. Because shout out to Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is a guy out of Lake Charles, Louisiana here, and great guy. I love, business-minded people. It's a great dude, but a lot of things Grant Cardone says is BS in the standpoint of like not every condo, townhouse, apartment complex, whatever the hell, like not every one of those that you're going to go and buy, you're going to make money from. So the idea is like everybody makes real estate seem like a thing that's easy to do. And it's very lucrative in a sense. It does generate a lot of, wealthy people, and it's responsible for a lot of wealth building, right? Real estate, almost like the stock market, where it always appreciates as an asset. But they make it sound to where, you just buy a property and you lease it out, you rent it out to somebody, and you get the returns on it. And that sounds good, but you got to understand, as a landlord now, you're responsible for the mortgage, the property taxes, the utilities most likely, insurance, and even the fact what we call vacancy fees, which is when somebody probably doesn't move into that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different things that you have to account for. And even if somebody breaks something, like as a landlord, you have to be responsible for this. So it's easy to say, yeah, I can just, buy a condo and lease it out and rent it out. And oftentimes you got to understand what the location is. You got to understand who's the market. All of that comes into play. And without having that knowledge of what the industry is like, you can't get, walked over quickly, because a lot of folks can come in and fast talk you through a lot of things, and then it sound good to you, and they paint the beautiful picture, and then now you got to dump, and then they just take your money. You never hear from them again, right? So be aware of that, as well as like investing in businesses. That's the same concept, man. Make sure you're aware of, like, when somebody comes and say they got a friend that's trying to do some type of venture and they need $200,000, something like that, man. Be aware of what the hell they're talking about, because all of that is in play. But the overall idea when it comes down to investing in general, man, is don't put all your eggs in one basket, first of all, but also ask questions. I always say, man, because I talk fast, right? I got ADHD. If there's anything that I say that you don't understand, I need you at that moment to say, Q, hold on, come back. Because I refuse to give you any advice without you even understand what the hell I just said. Don't make no sense. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. But the last big topic when it comes down to managing money as an NFL rookie, or, first 5 years still on a rookie deal, is to build out your team. Trustworthy team, people that you can lean on. Once again, you have to think about yourself now being an owner, right? You're a business. As a CEO, you have to surround yourself with different folks that's going to help you propel your business. Now, for different businesses, different people are required. Depending on your lifestyle, you might not need a marketing person on your team. You might not need this type of person on your team, right? But making sure you surround yourself with the ideal people that's going to help you can lean on in certain situations. But once again, other folks within your business just run different departments. You have to understand those departments at the end of the day. So as a financial planner, part of your team, yes, I'm helping you financially plan, but at the same time, it's your responsibility also to come in and check up and see how the department's doing, how the financial area is doing, so that way you can make your decisions, right? So as a CEO, the whole job is for you to be able to focus on growing your company, but you want to make sure you have people around, whether it's your financial planner, your CPA, your attorney. You want to make sure you have those folks in your corner, so that way when things happen, you're prepared for it. Now, right off the gate, you might not need all of those folks, but understand that over time you will. And really looking at it, because when I think about financial planners in general, I know the pitch I always give is I'm basically a quarterback, right? No pun intended. But being able to be the person to oversee everything, and my job is to put you in the best position so you can go out and make the best play. Another analogy I always use is being your primary care doctor. As a primary care doctor, I'm the one that got the relationship with you. I'm the one that understands every part of the body, right? Every part of your body. I understand what's going on. However, if you have a heart problem that's severe, and I recognize that, I refer you to a cardiologist, because I'm not no goddamn cardiologist, right? I'm not a heart specialist. Same concept in finance, right? So you can have a lot of tax issues, but I'm not a CPA. So I'm going to send you to them. I'm going to help you plan, but I'm not going to, try to do it myself, right? So being able to leverage that. But also you want to make sure you have the accountability partner. So this is where things get real critical, especially when it comes down to family and people and your friends, things in your corner, things like that. There are people going to come out of nowhere and try to be family with you, right? All of a sudden, you're my cousin. It's crazy. But being able to surround yourself with people who are not yes men. And I think about the John Morant situation, which is unfortunate, but you want to be surrounded by people that's not going to just say yes to everything you do because you got money. Like, working with me, I'm that person that's going to push back and say, no, that's probably not a good idea. That's probably stupid. I'm not about to sit up here and sugarcoat it because I can't. Especially because my facial expression, whenever I'm passionate about something I think that's not right, you're going to see it. Like, you're going to read it. But the idea is you want to make sure you surround yourself with folks that are going to put you in that position to really build you up versus just allowing you to eat yourself inside out, right? So accountability is crucial for that. Now, I covered a lot throughout this entire thing, so feel free to leave comments, man, subscribe, and also, share this with other folks that you might feel like might need this information, because I think it's really valuable, especially for this specific market of upcoming rookies, whether you're prospects getting ready for the draft, or if you're in your rookie season or your first 5 years still in your rookie contract. It's a lot of dynamics that come within it, but making sure you got the right team, I think, is all 100% important. But understanding just the education part of it, just from a basic education of financial planning or management just in general, especially with this new generation, with our generation of athletes coming in, especially coming from college with a lot of NIL stuff, you want to make sure like you're on top of everything, because there are a lot of snakes in the water, right? And snake sharks, whatever you want to call them, sharks smell blood, right? They come sniffing and they're going to find a way to, get into your pockets without you really knowing that they're in your pockets, right? You're not going to really know you're bleeding until you look down. And by the time you look down, you lost so much blood, right? They already drained a lot of things for you. And as a financial planner, my biggest thing is to be that difference in the financial planning space, right? I always say Rich Paul, being a Rich Paul, a financial planner. That's my thing, really, to be able to change the way that financial advisors to athletes or in general, because it's a necessary need. You feel what I'm saying? But to kind of give you a 2-minute drill to recap everything we talked about. So let's start the timer right now. So to begin, we talked about common mistakes to avoid, right? You want to make sure you avoid overspending on flashy items. So you get your big signing bonus. Take your time, man. Help plan and see what's the priority before you just start splurging on things. Second thing is ignoring taxes and agent fees is a big issue. So be wary of the taxes you have to pay outside of what comes out of your check. Understanding the job tax, the state tax, and the federal tax based off where you are and basically what state you live in, what state you play in. Understand what that is and be prepared for that. Agent fees, yes, agents charge percentages, nothing wrong with that. But if all your agent is doing is negotiating, it might be mindful for you to, instead of giving them a percentage, pay me the flat fee, hourly fee, or just as needed, right? Versus giving them a percentage to do nothing, because there's going to be that time that you really don't need an agent after they negotiate stuff. Emergency funds, not having them. So being able to set money aside and put into an emergency fund in case shit happens, right? Kid gets sick, you get sick, off season, there's a lockout, you're not signed, you cut, whatever. You want to make sure you have some money set aside to prepare for that. When it comes down to budgeting, you want to make sure you track your money. You know where it goes. Do not sign a financial power of attorney. I repeat, do not sign a financial power of attorney. You want to make sure you know where your money is going and where it's coming from. Keeping track of who's on your payroll. Understanding your fixed versus variable expenses. Fixed are things that are needs, really the essentials, the things that you know the absolute price for, and then variable are things that might go up and down, right? Christmas time expenses might be different than, expenses in the month of August, right? Try to adopt the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your income, of your paycheck, goes towards all of the needs, all of the essentials. 30% goes towards the things you want. You work for it. Go after it. And the other 20 is you either saving as an emergency fund or you investing in other things to help that money grow. I didn't make it 2 minutes. But I'll finish it anyway. So number 4 is understanding investment opportunities and risks. So stock market, understanding what that is. Understanding that, there's ups and downs within the stock market, right? There's ups and downs that's going to come. Nothing's guaranteed. But everything depends on your risk tolerance and your risk capacity. Real estate, be mindful on the deals that you end up walking into, because not all deals are good deals. Being able to diversify yourself is big. Building a financial planning team is big. Building a team in general. So whether it's a financial planner, CPA, attorney, whatever it is, you understand that you are a CEO and that you want to surround yourself with folks and understand the different departments that you have appointed, you have, employed basically. And surround yourself with accountability partners, people that are not yes men. So that's my 2.5 minute drill. I know I kind of lost the game right there, but anyway, everything's all good. We're all good here. But in the meantime, man, I appreciate you guys for tuning in to the first episode of the People's Planner. We're going to continue doing this thing. Man, I'll try to post as many podcast episodes as I possibly could. I don't have a set date. But just be tuned, stay in tune, subscribe to the channel, be a part of the movement. I really think there's going to be more of the educational side of the financial planning world compared to I'm Just Saying podcast. I'm sure you guys, if you haven't checked that out yet, it's really more of a free-flowing and open conversation. But in the meantime, man, if there's any questions, like, comment, subscribe, share, reach out to me if you have anything. Just kind of keep the movement going and keep the train flowing, man, as we all try to grow and get smarter, get better, and also make more money. But in the meantime, man, you all know how the motto go. Always be clever.